How's this looking? Is this looking alright? How's the sound there? It's fine. Oh man, right, you've got a black on, big one. That's slimming. You look pretty trim. Maybe starting to lose a few pounds, but we're going to get this visual metaphor working something fierce here, and then it is goodbye to these losers at Gersnet. Hello, Sky Sports News. Mark Benstead, watch your back, big man. I am the next Jim White. I'm going to be like Jim White when he still had the dark hair, when he looked like Midge-Ure, except a Midge-Ure that got to talk to Brian Laudrup, a Midge-Ure that went out to Romania and square-goed Marius Lakatos for accusing him of working for the BBC. So here we go, fame and fortune on its way to you. Alec, just get this sorted out. We're going to go 3, 2, 1 and action. Hi folks, welcome to your Gersnet midweek European Oh Chris, man, scrap that. Oh jeez, big man, maybe starting to lose. Let's start to lose maybe a couple of ounces, maybe a couple of jogs, and that'll be you. You'll be looking good. Total totty there. The camera loves you. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Action. Hi folks, welcome to your Gersnet European Preview Pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. My name's Jesus Christ, what's my name again, man? Right, okay, cut. Back you go. My name's Alec Anderson. This is what happens, you don't practice your pseudonym, big man. Right, okay. The Chargers are going to catch up with you one day. Right. 3, 2, 1, action. Hi folks, welcome to your Gersnet midweek European Preview Pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. My name's Alec Anderson, and I am looming towards you just as ominously as 24 hours from now, Rangers Group C clash with Aris Limassol looms towards Philippe Clement's body. What's it looming towards, man? Have you been recording the whole time? Have you scrapped that? I thought that stopped. Do you know what's happened here? I've planned badly. I've started off poorly. I wasn't ready at kick-off, and it's turned into a bit of a disastrous result, hasn't it? Aye. That's your metaphor right there, folks. Yes, that's your totally embarrassing metaphor. I think the scratch my leg and a rusty nail. Sadly, it heals. A lyric from one of my favourite songs of all time there. It's been going through my head the past few days. Richie Edwards' lyric, I think, for the Manic Street Preachers. And I scratched my leg and rusty nail, but I did get a wee, can you see it there? That was a tin of tuna that was washing out for the recycling. I totally slashed myself on it. There was blood. I mean, it wasn't any blood, of course, but it really quite stings. Because I was doing a salad, there was some vinaigrette involved. Oh my God, it was absolutely brutal. But yeah, it kind of sums up the mood. Not myself, really, not because of the result and the performance at Pittodrie on Sunday, which wasn't good enough. No getting away from that. But I think the reception, the all-round attitude of a lot of the Rangers support, a lot of my fellow Blue Noses, just doing that thing where they're calling the players losers. We've got to get rid of the dead wood. These guys have got to go. That problem's still there. And I think it's just because we're utterly frustrated as the club yet again has to rebuild under a new manager yet again. And yet again we find ourselves not getting there quick enough. And the people who are still there, we've got rid of directors of football, we've got rid of chairmen, we got rid of all sorts of executives, all sorts of managers. We got rid of players in the summer as well. But still, we need to blame somebody. There needs to be somebody that we can shout at, somebody we can put it on that makes it feel like an easy solution. And we end up calling, the players that have been there the longest, the guys who've actually won the league title, guys who won the Scottish Cup, guys who go to a European final, we're calling them losers, we're calling them the problem. And I just don't think that's accurate. It's not totally inaccurate as well. There's definitely stuff to be looked at. The way we start games really slowly, that's been a problem for a few seasons now. But I would like to look at it for a start. Philippe Clement's only been here, that was his 8th game, and that was the first of those bumps in the road that he did promise us. So even if he averaged one bump in the road every 8 games, we'd probably be there or thereabouts this season. And he's obviously going to try and improve things, and it's I have another lyric from that song, the chorus. I have crawled so far sideways I recognise dim traces of creation. I think that's the problem. A lot of Bears, you're calling these guys losers, you're calling them, they've got to go, they bottle it when they're under pressure. They're always the same. This is the same old story. They always bottle it when they're under pressure. If they always bottled it when they're under pressure, A, they wouldn't play for Rangers, B, we wouldn't even be as close as, potentially 8 points, 25 points behind Celtic. The League Cup this season has become a massive pressure. because Celtic went out of that so early. We've been the favourites to win that trophy from the word go. We haven't won it for so many years. If we were feeling that pressure of that kind of bottler, then we would not have blown away Hearts the way we did as an afterthought at Hampden in that semi-final. We were under so much pressure in Prague, actual pressure. 55 minutes we were getting pounded in that game, but we dug in and we came away from the point there a couple of weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, against Sparta here at Ibrox. They pull a goal back in the second half and were hanging on for the win there. But the crowd was right behind the players and they certainly dug in and they didn't bottle it under the pressure that night. No, I think we're just really frustrated and we're in danger. I just always feel we're in danger of overreacting. Not doing stuff about problems at the club is only as dangerous as overreacting to minor problems at the club. I think we're on the right track. I think we're going to get there. There's major surgery required, no doubt, to the overall squad, but we've got the man in that's going to do that. And I found myself, I think it was the reaction of so many fans, as much as anything else, my fellow Blue Noses, it was getting to me the last few days. I ended up cutting myself, not to any extent that Steve Lamac's going to come in and take a big photograph of it for the NME, but this is all references to the Holy Bible. I Want to Die in the Summertime. Die in the Summertime, one of my favourite tracks off the Holy Bible by the Manic Street Preachers, my favourite album of all time, until I hear Subterranean Homesick Alien on OK Computer by Radiohead, and that's my favourite album of all time until I hear A Message to You, Rudy, Specials by the Specials. That's my favourite album of all time. I suddenly remember that's actually my favourite album of all time. Until I hear Sin in My Heart by Susie and the Banshees from Juju, and I think, no, that is actually my favourite album of all time. Until I hear Woke Up This Morning, the house was cold, checked the furnace, she wasn't burning. No, and as you'll probably be thinking, why is Bruce Springsteen suddenly come onto my phone, come onto my laptop there? Yeah, no, it's actually me impersonating the boss. Tunnel of Love, probably my favourite album of all time when I think about it. And the thing is, I've seen about 12 groups in concert in my entire life. Got a wee bit of vinyl, got some old cassettes there, I've got some CDs, the same as the rest of us. But really, music, as much as I love it, I'm no great expert, I cannot pick a favourite. I don't have a favourite album of all time. It's just infinite when you start thinking about it. It's like your favourite movie. But see, when it comes to the football, I've been to over 1,000, 1,500, I don't know. I've been to well over 1,000 football matches in my life anyway. And my favourite football match, that's not a problem. I can pick that for you straight away. And a few of you will probably agree with me. It's the night we beat RB Leipzig at this very stadium I'm stood in front of right now in this very competition that we're playing in tomorrow night. That was quite simply the greatest night. Not just Doolittle, the Pixies. Every time I hear Debaser, I think, Debaser. It's that. But no, I think the greatest social occasion of my entire life. It was absolutely phenomenal. What an experience. And I've been to so many games that came really close. So many amazing football matches, especially following Rangers. No, what game did I probably enjoy? The most fun I probably had was the 1987-88 League Cup final, a season Rangers didn't win the league. That was all we won that season. David Cooper, that free kick, going to extra time, penalties. I was winning the thing, and me and my mate meeting a couple of boys from Northern Ireland in the train on the way to the game. And they wanted to fall about the old Rangers end that me and Alan had done plenty of times, so they swapped us their tickets for the main standard, the best seats in the house for that game as well. It was absolutely fantastic. I went home and away, my best 2 legs watching Rangers I was at both games against Villarreal when we played them in the Champions League. The first time we got to knockout stages of the Champions League, 2005-2006, and having thought, Villarreal, they've never won La Liga, they've never been in a European final. That was true at that point. This isn't going to be as glamorous as playing one of the big clubs in the knockout stages of the Champions League after all this time waiting to get to this round, and it turned out, you realise that yellow kit was going to be one of the great European kits, and Riquelme and Forlan, and just the tightness of the tie, home and away. It was absolutely phenomenal, a great experience. And we won 55, we won that league title. That's the victory, the general victory I've needed more than any other. You probably feel the same, but there is no getting away from the fact that almost a celebration of 55 was reaching that European final and just proving that 10 years earlier, having been in the lower leagues, the bottom rung of Scottish football, here we were back at the top table in European football, narrowly losing out on penalties at that night here against RB Leipzig, where we went through to the final. We're doing a post-match reaction pod with Colin after the game, and Colin Steen walked past us. Colin Steen, who Colin from Gersnet is named for. Colin Steen, who scored the first goal the only other time we'd played a European final in Spain, and here we are just having reached another European final in Spain. The great man walks past us. It's just magical, absolutely magical. So number one, to say that we're losers when that's 18 months ago that happened, and so many of the players are still here that got us there 18 months ago. There are a few of the players anyway, they're the ones that are getting in the neck on Sunday. I think that's a total misnomer, and it also reiterates to me how amazingly important this competition is. European football in general, there's two ways of judging. There's two realms in which Scottish football clubs can prove themselves. There's the domestic scene and there's Europe. And Europe is the top end of Scottish football. Very few Scottish teams are getting into Europe each season, and very few are lasting these days. And here we are yet again, the last remaining Scottish team in Europe. Aberdeen and Celtic just get dead rubbers to play between now and the end of their European campaigns, and we win this game tomorrow night. We beat Aris Limassol tomorrow night, and that is it. We are through again to the latter stages of European competition. Post-Christmas European competition is guaranteed, and I think we need to start viewing these things as trophy wins, the equivalent of winning the League Cup, the equivalent of winning the Scottish Cup, I think, as a Scottish club getting out of a European group stage, particularly considering how far European football has moved on ahead of Scottish football. We were at the very centre of setting up the Champions League, just over 30 years ago, 92-93, at a time when Manchester City, the current holders of the Champions League, were heading for the English third tier. We were setting up and a goal away from becoming the first British side ever to reach the final of the Champions League. For quite a few years we were the only British side who had got that close to the final of the Champions League, and then you cut to 20 odd years later and we are the ones that are in the Scottish fourth tier. For us to bounce back from that and get to a European final was absolutely amazing. That we shouldn't forget that glory when it comes to tomorrow night. Ironically though, or not ironically, notedly, it's tomorrow night. I'm actually glad that there will be a reaction to what happened at Pittodrie amongst the crowd. The crowd will be looking for the players. Can you prove to us that you're ready to go again? You're going to make up for that slip up on Sunday. Hopefully the players are feeling the same way that under Philippe Clement, that the manager's going to be looking for a reaction to Sunday, because I think we've got to that stage where, I'm not saying arrogant, but we're almost kind of taking European football for granted, progress in European football for granted, and that's a word I'm never going to be able to say again in terms of Rangers in Europe. Progress, without emphasising that I'm spelling it with two S's. Because you know what happened to us in 2016-17, or 2017-18, sorry, right at the beginning of the 2017-18 season, and even to move on in those terms from how we started European football again under Pedro Caixinha after our time in the lower leagues. It's really quite an amazing thing. But I think we've got to the stage where, as I've said a few times this season, we're just dropping in to the Europa League group stage, something that we had to fight through 4 qualifying rounds twice under Steven Gerrard to get into. A blooming miracle in itself, and now we're just falling into the group stages of the Europa League almost as a punishment, as a kind of a booby prize for not doing well enough in the Champions League qualifiers. So I think there's a good chance we could have been taking this for granted tomorrow night, even though Aris beat us in the previous encounter with them. There may be a whole lot of Rangers fans and a whole lot of Rangers players thinking, well, this is the easiest team in the group, so this is kind of in the bag. You know that way you go to a restaurant quite a lot, and it's when it's really busy, you still get the food really quickly and it's always really hot, but the minute it's a kind of quiet night, suddenly everything slows down and you get thinking, the food's kind of lukewarm and what have you. It's almost like Rangers need something else going on tomorrow night to keep their eye on the ball, and that slip up on Sunday. It's no great consolation, but it's going to come in handy tomorrow night. I think we should go out and we should take this out on Aris Limassol and get ourselves through to at least the round of 32 after Christmas. Our manager, Philippe Clement, has got an interesting record in his other clubs when it comes to European football. He was manager of Genk. He got them from right through the 3 qualifying rounds. I think they won their group and they get into the last 32. When you had to play the last 32, I think it's still at that stage, at 2018-2019 season. And they, who did they go out to? I can't actually remember. It might have been Slavia Prague, actually. Met a lot of teams that Rangers were meeting at the same time in Europe, Philippe Clement with his previous clubs. But they went out in that round 32. Then he goes to Bruges, and he's 3 times in the Champions League group stages. Twice he finishes third, once he finishes fourth. He drops into the Europa League As a result, the 2 third-place finishes, goes out in the round of 32 both times. He goes to Monaco. He gets the Monaco job. He starts here in January, I think, 2022, and they're already through. They'd finished first in the Europa League group, so they're already through to the last 16. The only time he's ever played in it. He goes straight out to Braga. They beat him, and when his only full season at Monaco, goes out in the Champions League playoff rounds. No, the third qualifying round to PSV Eindhoven, who would then lose to Rangers in the playoff round. Gets himself into the Europa League. They finish second in the group, and he goes out in the round of 32. So Philippe Clement is looking for, I think it's a fifth pop, maybe a sixth pop. My mental arithmetic's not too good. At getting past the first post-Christmas round he faces in the Europa League. So he's on a level where he knows what he's doing. He knows how to get through the group stages, but he's not really proved that he can get much further than that. But I think, as I say, for Scottish teams in Europe, just to be getting through the group stages is a massive achievement, and I think we've been gaslit. I've got to say this. I think we have been gaslit as a support by, we've got all this stuff, but the media is dominated by Celtic these days now, and that's not true, but they're certainly a loud voice these days, and I think we get told that whatever Celtic do is the only thing to do. I already made example of what I'm talking about. I think I was talking about this with Craig on the preview pod on Friday night when we won the treble in 2002-2003. That counted for nothing because Celtic had lost a European final very narrowly in Seville after extra time. It's a good Porto side, Jose Mourinho's Porto, but our treble didn't really count for much. It was all about Europe and getting to a European final. That was a glorious achievement. But when we did the same thing last season, when we reached 2 seasons ago now, when we reached that European final in Seville and lost it on penalties, taking it even closer, and Celtic only managed to win the league and the League Cup. We still got ourselves a Scottish Cup. Again, we were losers, and Celtic's achievement was far greater. And I think some Rangers fans are actually biting when it comes to this kind of stuff. We need to realise that what we keep doing in Europe, it works in parallel to. It's the equal of anything Celtic are doing domestically. And in terms of romance, in terms of a comeback story, it's one of the best that Scottish football has ever seen, if not the best. No, folks, I feel as if we need to be more proud of what we've done. I think in the Europa League, it's summed up by the fact that people are starting to, I've seen this before, this kind of phenomenon. I remember our 9 in a row, and had Rangers fans round about me at that time starting to say, yeah, but what's the point of winning the league, when we're not doing anything in Europe? So we spent more and more money trying to do both the league and Europe, and we know what that happened, where that got us eventually. But I feel, no, we then get to the stage where, less than 20 years later, we're not even in that league that we're getting sick of winning. We're 3 leagues lower. So yeah, I feel as if we need to start realising that this thing of picking and choosing what you're going to win doesn't work. And what's becoming a bit of a meme is that Rangers twice and Celtic once this century reached a European final but did not win the league. It's actually 4 times in a row in this competition, because Dundee United reached the UEFA Cup final in 1987 and they lost the Scottish Cup final after extra time, and we're looking good for the league for quite a while that season, never quite got there. And people put that down to the European run. It's actually 6 times in a row, all in, for Scottish clubs reaching a European final and not winning their own domestic competition, starting with Rangers in 72 in Barcelona. Even when we win the trophy, same with Aberdeen in 83 winning the Cup Winners' Cup, don't win their own league. But my God, does anybody care? People remember Dundee United fans getting to a European final, the time of their life. Same for us in 2008 and in 2022. It's just magical memories. So never think that that's any kind of loss. It's a massive achievement, and I think even when you look at it, we lost the league by 4 points in 2022. Celtic lost the league on goal difference on the last day of the season in 2003 when they got to Seville. We lost the league again on the last day of the season, ironically on a Thursday night, Europa League night, when we got to the UEFA Cup final in 2008. So it's just push it a bit further. Just keep going. You've got to keep trying on all fronts. I would not want us chickening out of Europe every season just so we can win a league title that nobody else across the whole of the continent gives a monkeys about. But you've got to have league success to make sure you keep getting access to Europe, and we do need to be winning our own league title eventually. But I think the way Rangers are going about it, getting themselves back into regularly winning stuff through regularly doing well in Europe, is absolutely A-OK fine by me. Tomorrow night, selection problems, etc. Aris Limassol, they've had a flu bug apparently going through the ranks. They beat Apoel in a kind of 6-pointer at the weekend there to go back top of the league very narrowly. Back at the top of the Cypriot League, of which they are champions for the first time ever in their history. Aris Limassol, a lot of Belarusian money in there. I'll maybe put a link to my preview pod for the previous clash with Aris, which gives you all the details of what they're all about. But I think the main thing for us tomorrow night is to not take this flu bug that's supposed to have gone through the ranks too seriously, because of course it could be a bit of a trick there. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of attention. I think a lot of folk are looking at me thinking you'd be much better on Sky than that Mark Benstead, and I'm not going to argue with that. But for me, I'm just going to go ahead and say that we need to watch the number 7, the Swedish guy who didn't play at the weekend, Bengtsson, who set up both their goals in that game in Limassol, which were between managers at the time, but it was absolutely humiliating. It really was an absolute humdinger for them, and a total nightmare for us. It's the only points they've gained in this group. They're very much the Aberdeen of this Group C in the Europa League. If it wasn't for Rangers, they wouldn't have anything to their name at all. So we've got to be on our toes there. The 2 Gabon players, one a striker, one a centre-half, who scored both their goals that night. We've got to keep our eyes on them, obviously. And then there's Corcoran. I don't know if any of these guys are ill or injured or what. None of them are suspended. I checked the UEFA website for that. But Corcoran, who is a scumbag. I'm not just saying that out of some kind of irrational or rational hatred of all things Russian these days. It's because he's done time in the Gulag for basically killing people or trying to kill people on a night out, and total racist as well. But what a scorer. His one thing he's got going from it is he's scored 20 odd goals in Europe. He scored against Sparta and Prague in this group stage. He scored against Betis in Andalusia as well, so he's a guy to be watching. He's wanting to complete the set of scoring in all their away games in this group stage. This is only Aris Limassol's second season at European football. They've only won 1 game away from home, and they absolutely pounded Bate Borisov, so that speaks well for us. And we're doing well. We're doing well in terms of European games at Ibrox this season. Played 4, lost none, won 3 of them, only drew 1. That epic 2-2 draw, absolute humdinger. That's the proper use of the phrase, humdinger, against PSV Eindhoven, which didn't amount to much in the long run, but we won all the other games. Servette in the previous round, the Champions League qualifiers, Betis here, and Sparta Prague by a single goal. They've all been quite tight, so it'd be nice not just to win tomorrow night, to get a few goals back into the system, get the confidence going again on that front. And yeah, for us, I think we need to. What was the manager talking today? He's talking the right game anyway about needing to be in Europe after Christmas, needing to be trying on all fronts, which is absolute music to my ears. And the players need it as well. You don't learn anything if you're not trying to go forwards all the time. It's just because I think a lot, as I was trying to say earlier, I think a lot of Rangers supporters are maybe getting to the point where they think we're better off out of Europe because that way we can win the league and what have you. No. Try and everything, try for ultimate glory all the time. I'm really proud of Rangers doing that over the previous few seasons, even though I think it has cost us domestically, but you're going to get there eventually. And we've got, we know that at centre half it's all changed, and I think after the way Mr. Goldson and Mr. Balogun played on Sunday, the way they were undone regularly in that first quarter of an hour, maybe not entirely their fault. There was problems all over the park there, but they certainly didn't look too clever, especially for Aberdeen's only goal in that game. It's maybe just as well that Leon Balogun's not in the European squad and Connor Goldson's suspended, so I'm imagining it's going to be Ben Davies and John Souttar coming in as a centre-half pairing. You never know, maybe Leon King's going to get an outing or something, and I think that also, that being an irregular pairing, is going to help John Lundstrom keep his place in the team. Played pretty poorly on Sunday, played pretty poorly against Aris, the first time we played them this season, even though he did set up our goal for Sima. I think it's maybe his ability to play, to drop in and be in a kind of auxiliary centre-half, especially in Europe, is going to serve him well tomorrow night. We'll need him on the park. And we've got Jack and Raskin are still out. That's bad news. So Cifuentes, I would imagine, don't know if the manager's going to change the formation or whatever, but if we're going to have that sitting to Cifuentes, I would imagine it's going to go in there beside John Lundstrom again, as per Sunday, and maybe having a full 90 odd minutes under his belt. He lasted the full game on Sunday, did Shifu, so maybe that's going to help him tomorrow night. And it's up front, well, that's when it all starts to get interesting. We've got a lot of stuff available there, and are we going to have Are we going to have Todd Cantwell going in at 10? Is Tom Lawrence going to stay at 10? I don't think Sam Lammers didn't do himself any favours with that miss towards the end of the game at Pittodrie. So I'm really interested to see what's happening there. Is there a kind of a war of a battle of wills between Todd Cantwell and the manager's refusing to play him at 10? I don't know. He wouldn't. I think if there was any problems in terms of discipline or attitude, he wouldn't have been in the team at all, Todd Cantwell. But it's interesting to see what's going to happen there. He's a player that I wasn't keen to sign for Rangers, Todd Cantwell, but when I saw him in the flesh last season, he blew me away. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and I find it difficult to imagine that we can't get him back in there. But it'll be interesting to see what's happening. Also on the wide, I mean, we've got young Ross, Daniel Candace McCausland having signed his contract extension earlier in the week there. That's absolutely great news. This time last year I was watching Ross McCausland scoring a couple of goals against the Ajax youth side in the UEFA Youth League up at Firhill as we get beat 6-2. So but he came on towards the end of the game in Limassol and was far better than anything that had been on before him. And we know he's done really well. He's got his first team starts now. He's got his first start for Northern Ireland's full team as well. It's been an emotional time for a man who, you know, as everybody keeps saying now, he's not as young as we think. He just looks absolutely tiny, built like an X-ray. He walked past me here just at New Edmiston House. When was it? It was straight after the Hibs game. We beat Hibs 4-0 in Clermont's first game in charge, and he's just. I must be 3 times. I must weigh 3 Ross McCauslands minimum. So he's a young. He is still young in those terms, and he's relatively inexperienced when it comes to first team football. You're always worried there's going to be a huge dip once he's had a bit of kind of praise and a bit of focus from the media, etc. But I would be quite happy to start with him tomorrow night. I don't know if him and Matondo coming on and doing particularly well, seeming to do particularly well up in the game at Pittodrie in the last 10 minutes or so was as a result of Cantwell on the right and Sima on the left having softened Aberdeen up. Aberdeen were certainly struggling for energy because they don't try against anybody else, so their stamina's nonsense. And Sunday, but I don't know, Matondo could be starting tomorrow night as well on the left-hand side. Sima maybe getting a bit tired. A player I would always like to see starting for us, though. I think he's excellent. It's got to be Danilo up front. Got to be the Brazilian masked wonder. It's got to be him up front. I don't take any chances. I think maybe even the manager tomorrow night would be hoping to get Danilo on there and get it done by half-time. Are we getting ahead of ourselves? Probably. We will know what's happened in the other game by the time we kick off tomorrow night. The other game in the group, Sparta Prague at home to Real Betis. I think it's a 5:45 kick-off. So that will be a better place to work out all the kind of machinations then. But the main thing is, if we win, we're through to European football after Christmas in the Europa League. If we lose, there's still a chance we can go out altogether, not even get into the Conference League. So, you know, we need to be on it tomorrow night. Also, there's a chance, I think, no matter the result, if we win, the worst we're going to be is 2 points behind Real Betis going into that last game against Betis, which is on the Thursday before we play the League Cup final. So that's quite interesting to work out what's going to happen there, because ultimately, you know, if Sparta Prague do the business tomorrow night, if we win, it doesn't matter. They then can't catch us, or they can catch us on points, but we'll do them in the head-to-head. It would mean we can actually finish top of the group. It could make it a case of we go over there, we just need a draw in Betis, or in Seville against Real Betis, to go top of the group and to miss out that round of 32 playoff rounds after Christmas. We go into the following round, which with like the Celtic, who are going to be our main opponents for the league title, I would imagine, with them being out of Europe altogether now, they won't have that problem after Christmas. So if we want to win on all fronts, that could do us a wee favour if we could go one better. But as I say, we have the League Cup final on the Sunday after we play Betis away from home. So I don't know how much effort we want to put into that game and cost ourselves one of these precious domestic trophies that we've been lacking so badly in previous years. Listen, guys, I think it's a major game tomorrow night, and I think we should be really proud of the team if they win tomorrow night and they get us past Christmas in Europe yet again. But you know, if they don't, or if they underperform, the knives will be out in full force and Philip Clement will be facing real pressure. But I'm hoping that we're going to do the business, and it's going to be an enjoyable night, and I'll be back with a little bit of post-match reaction, which will be a lot quicker and hopefully a lot smoother than this. Thanks very much for your time, folks, and back to you in the studio, Jackie. That's good. Right, well, this is why you didn't tell them that you're right into U2 as well, and you went to see the Joshua Tree concert, and I Will Follow is probably one of your favourite songs of all time. The Boy album, or that you went to see them in concert, and Charlie Burchill for Simple Minds come on, and he's related to Mark Burchill. And that you like the Stone Roses and Joy Division and Roxy Music, but all their stuff you've got on vinyl is actually compilation albums. You're a big fraud trying to make it something pretty special. But anyway, these idiots not listening to Gersnet or not knowing anything about that. I'm far too clever for that.